Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 14 of the Holistic Hub with Marie and Martine. Hello, Marie.
Hello, Martine. How are
Um,
you?
Marie is feeling like filled this afternoon. Let's say that.
Oh,
And I, on the other hand, have moved into my hyperactive version of Martine. So, so
we're
Marie
balancing polarities.
catch us yesterday, and we were in role reversals.
That's right.
Yeah, and so today we were chatting about what we're going to chat about, and came up to the conclusion that we are going to be chatting about again the current energies. We're moving in. We just had the 12/12 portal. We're moving into the 21, eclipse opening energy. Well, the closing of that eclipse season,
Solstice.
the
Yep.
solstice, but the closing of that final eclipse that opened on, what was the eclipse date again, Marie?
Oh gosh,
That
I don't
was
know.
so long
What day is
ago.
it today? Don't ask
And
me today. I'm not present fully.
the crescendo that's been for all of us, and we were going to call this episode the stuff, but
Yeah.
it's essentially the shadow that's coming up in all of us, and so we're going to be chatting about what that is, um, how we're all experiencing it, why we would be experiencing it, why sometimes it feels like it's in the crescendo. I've definitely been through the ringer the last week and a half, I would say, completely tested. And that's going to be us today. So, anything to add to that, Marie?
No, I think that will succinctly sums up where we attempt to be leading and heading you and leading ourselves into. But no, yeah, it's a big time at the moment. So, we often say, "Oh, big energies, oh, it's big," and we say, "But get used to it." And yeah, we do. But this is big. I can truly say this is a really big time because a lot of things I can slip through quite gracefully. But this energy currently is quite profound. And um, I've said for some time that, probably back in June, I remember doing one of my own videos on my web YouTube page and saying that by the solstice this year we would see change, and I felt that the end up to the solstice was going to be massive, and it's leading into that, absolutely. And it's not because I'm manifesting that, it's because this is the greater collective manifestation, and it's the greater cosmic manifestation now what we're moving through. And we have to keep, I think, remembering that what we're going through, we are being directly and constantly in alignment and reflective of the energies outside of us, what are happening within us, and whatever that is coming from the great central sun and the greater dimensional forces that exist within and beyond us. Whatever amplifies at that level amplifies here. And so these energies, again, as they are pounding us, and they are truly pounding through this window, because this solstice, as I said, this feels for me like this is the birth. This, as we move into the seventh cycle, the seventh age, which is the age of Aquarius. Seven in itself is a massive number of manifestation, of alchemy, transformation, transmutation. But all this combination is leading us into that Christed energy that is birthing within each and every one of us. The divine feminine and masculine is coming. And we often hear a lot about the divine feminine coming back, and rightly so. But I'm really a stickler now for not separating those energies, not just talking about her, but really incorporating him as well, because there is one. They cannot be individualized. They come together, they rise together, and so they work together. And while in duality and separation, we manage to play out the masculine at times or the feminine, and we can pinpoint that. These two surging into our DNA, surging right through our cosmic channels and through our portals and through our systems right now, is saying to all of us that are feeling the push, the purge, the stuff, you are shifting. You are birthing these two beloved energies in remembrance again. And so with that incredible rising, we can't take the old baggage with us. We simply cannot take the old energies. And so they purge up to our surface merely for that conscious recollection, recognition, acknowledgement, and for us not to panic, not to push away, not to resist, but as we can, just to sit with them and feel them, because until we feel them, we can't acknowledge them. Until we acknowledge them, we can't shift them. So it's all part of that bigger picture in us rising, that again, we've got this incredibly inherent picture and teaching within us from our higher self that is us right now, saying, you're ready. And every time this stuff comes up, it's because you are ready to keep moving forward, to keep rising up the spiral, to keep coming into a new quantum field of energy that supports your expansion of your soul into the all that you are again. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. But then on top of that too, on Christmas, we've got this incredible, I think it's a super new moon again that culminates the end of that before we move into January. So these are big times, and they are big because they have to be big. They are big because, it's not we're just saying that, but because Source itself has doctrined this, has programmed this, we have contracted to this moment, because we are birthing a new earth. We are birthing a new world and civilization, and we are birthing the remembrance of the truth that we really are, not this shell, not who you are, not the personality, but this incredible all light being, that in light there can be no darkness. So to return to that state of light and to be that state of light again, we must begin to look for the darkness, which is the shadow, which is the less than love, less than truth qualities within us that are rising for the conscious recognition that I was just speaking about. Thoughts?
Any thoughts? Yes. And, the take home that I've been feeling after this very big shift that I've been going through for the last week and a half, which I'll go into in some detail, is the real softening in my heart of the knowing that I can trust, that, it will be what it's meant to be, and it will be very amazing and very, very loved and very love vibration, because that's ultimately where we're heading. That is the vision that I have. I don't visualize anything less than. I would say that the week and a half has tested me, absolutely, because like Marie, I feel like I moved through these big changes or anything that comes my way rather gracefully. Nothing is as tumultuous as it has been. I think last really big event for me was over a couple of years ago with a particular family member, and that took a while for me. But they happened far and few in between, where this week and a half to me has felt very big. And interestingly enough, I only just realized this, but that time with the family member happened at the exact same timing as this one.
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to process that after the hub, shall I?
Yes, good idea.
Rather than mid-hub.
Yeah. Very interesting.
Yeah. And 2 years ago.
Feminine.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she was feminine.
This one to me has, as I described to Marie, it's been like a very consistent prodding, like I felt prodded. And the catalyst for it, is, and often is, my daughter, as she's moving into her, the close, like she's turning 9 next year. There's been massive changes that I'm seeing in her, and those are igniting and reflecting in me, like all of us as parents. We then have to change how we parent or how we are with our children. But initially it's kind of like, well, what's happening? Like I had a dad in the clinic today, and his son's 3 years old and just stopped the day sleep. And he was talking about these changes that he sees in his son every 6 months. That, you know, these changes are often, they're like, what's going on for a week? And then they're like, oh, that's what's happening. And, you know, they're very big times for what gets raised in us as we reconfigure our communications with the other person. And that's what's been like, it's being experienced for me on top of episode 13, Addie, on top of other things that have been going on. And then also the big bit is that I had a birthday yesterday. And so the crescendo to that is, you know, again, I was talking to a friend of mine today, and she was like, how was your birthday? And I said, oh, you know, every year I feel like I'm like, woohoo, birthday week, yeah. And then I'm like, let's celebrate here, let's celebrate there. And then like the day before the birthday, I'm like, what's happening? It's intense. Like, just
here it comes again.
think you're getting away with it. I'm like, how are your birthdays? And she's like, oh, I love my birthday. I'm like, okay, weird. So yes, it's been big, but you know, big from the sense of me letting go of another layer of some of the hugest things that I still hold on to, like guilt, like expectations, like, you know, being harsh on myself. All of these things are not new ways of me being, but yet they were up in full force. Like, you know, my irritability, like, was next level. Like, just so many things that I was experiencing, and very frequently it was this, there was not much gap in between. Like, just when I thought I was like through it, some like the scissors would go missing and I'd be like, oh.
in physical or in these scissors?
Both. Because who remembers to do those stupid pulls when we're in the thick of it?
We try to.
Yeah. And it's funny because this week my sage delivery arrived. So, you know, a massive box of sage plus X amount of bags. Isla gave me a big sage stick with crystals and flowers for my birthday. Another one of my friends gave me another sage stick. I'm like, what are we trying to say, people?
It's time. Oh gosh. Well, I tell you what, I've been non-stop saging. It's just been something that I've just had to do every day, if not twice a day at the moment, but certainly every day, which is not normal for me. It's when I feel I need to do it, or when, you know, I'm clearing someone, a client, or whatever's going on. But it's been every day I've had to keep the sage going and be very conscious to the violet flame. And you know, mine's probably a little different. Well, you know, saying to Martine coming on, I woke up feeling quite good this morning, and I'm doing something very different. Like, there's new practices for me, there's new shifts in how I'm working again with myself. And then by lunch I could feel this shift again in here, so I'm feeling very, like, not empty, but I feel like I get very half present, if that makes sense. I'm here, but I'm not really here. I'm present, but I'm also present somewhere else. It sounds very strange, I know. And I was doing really well, you know, everything was great. And then I was thinking, oh, I'm coming through the 12-12 really well. Oh, never say never. Oh, don't get cocky. And and then for me it was Monday. But I could actually, you know, that's when I went into my, whoa, here we go again down the slippery slope. But I could feel Saturday. And what was interesting for me is my husband went away. And Aldo decided he's going to visit and do his thing with his family. And I don't need to do that right now. And that was very strong. But what interests me with these moments is that, you know, he's this soul that he's doing his walk his way very uniquely, and nowhere near do we meet and connect in obvious ways. But on the subconscious, deeper levels, there's a lot that we overplay with each other. But whenever he goes away, it's always a bit of a ding ding somewhere in me, because I know I have my time, I have my space. And in hindsight, it's always those moments that I'm given the space and opportunity to go within, and there's usually stuff that comes up, and it's not all bad stuff, but you have to go within to get that whole percolation, to get that whole energy buzzing, and death and rebirth, whatever it is that's going on for you, which all seemed to be on Saturday for me. But it wasn't a hardship thing. It was just literally like I just woke up feeling like I was dying, and not in a physical sense, but in that metaphysical sense. And then I remember saying to Martine, in our chat, that I went to the kitchen and I felt okay. I thought, yeah, I kind of understand. I sat with it in bed and I worked with my staff, and then I went out to have breakfast, and then I just had this feeling to put this music I haven't played for a long, long time on. And so I played it, and I'm sitting there with, I just made my breakfast, which I was starving because I do 16-hour fast now. And I was just about to take my first bite, and the music came on. And then before I could bite, my hand started to shake as it started to play, and the songs and the music and the words. And then I was just a torrent, a river of tears. And it just poured and poured and poured. And my hands were still shaking. And I thought, wow, I could feel this shaking right through me. And I thought, I don't know even what this is really about. It had no causation, it had no labeling, it had no issue, no person attached, it had nothing, just had to go. And so I just, instead of choking, I just sat holding this bun, shaking and listening to this music. And then, oh, and then it started to settle by about track 3. And my roll's still sitting there. And then as I just sat with it, it was just this, sound and music, and the resonance that you find that works for you. Like, this music for me is just so soul deep, and the words are so profound every time I hear them, and it's Barbara Streisand, and some of you that know me know these words in groups. I used to play these songs, but again, just playing it again, it just was like opening doors, opening doors of stuff that I didn't realize was shut. And then at the same time, in that, as you spoke about, the clarity that we get in that release and that flow. And I didn't dam my tears, I didn't try to stop them, I didn't care, I just allowed. As it settled, then I started to feel and hear different thoughts, different inspirational moments, different parts of me that were trying to get my attention that I wasn't hearing prior to that. And then they were ideas, they were thoughts that, oh my God, is that possible? Like, is that really what you're wanting me to do? And that they're quite big, some of them. And I thought, well, I just have to let these be for the minute and not jump in. And again, I think this is always a really good point for everybody. When you're getting the inspirations, be willing to sit with them, because not everything is meant to be actualized. Often they're just the doorways and the thought forms that lead you to the actual physical movement, and not everything you get has to happen. And that's part of the discernment path, as you trust and you allow, and you know that you're not going to miss out on anything. But yeah, and then it just sort of progressed, that sort of eased up. And then I had a really lovely day with, after all the music, and Sunday was really quite good. And then Monday, boom, down I went again, back down in Byron in my beautiful energetic center with my granddaughter. And this old stuff again, another layers of stuff came up. And I just, in different locations on this land, I had to go, and I just had to cry. Mine's been no anger, it's just been tears that I've had to release. And in those tears, what I've personally realized for me is that I'm dying, as I said earlier, I'm dying to me. I'm dying to Marie. I'm dying to the personality that I thought I'd been, to the parts with people who've been my mirrors, and most of these have been my immediate family right now, that again, they're in my world simply to show me the aspects of me that I'm leaving behind now. That what raises for me and what I see in them doesn't need to be qualified, doesn't need to be worked through. It just needs to be felt and experienced. And in my knowing, it was just to say, wow, that part of me can't come any further now. that I have to let this part of me go. I have to let, and these are ancient, these are old thought forms. These aren't just of this lifetime, because these immediate players with us aren't of just this lifetime. Let me tell you, they've come to assist you to clear lineages, to clear the ancient lines, as we are to them. You know, this is a two-way street. And I said to Martine, whether this makes sense to you or not, but the thing that I really clearly saw too, and the message that I got, was all the people that I felt as I've come not to be in alignment with them, or that there was the resonance wasn't there anymore, and be that friends, family, whoever, that I've had to walk away from, so to speak, and not even walk away, just the acceptance that the timelines for us just aren't matching anymore. Where I was always sort of seeing that person on the timeline, this time I wasn't seeing that person, I was seeing me in that person again. And so what I recognized was that I was actually leaving me again, that person was simply showing me the parts of me that I chose not to take forward. That I'm not leaving anybody, that I'm leaving an energy that being, that soul, is expressing for me to simply understand and to make a choice as to whether I choose to continue that vibration or I choose not to continue that vibration. And in that moment, there was this purity. You know, I feel like it was the divine feminine coming through in that greater knowing again that there is no shame, there is no guilt, there is nothing that might be hidden anywhere in that attachments of what you think you may be doing by leaving, walking away, whatever turns. Again, watch what you say and what that means. Because walking away could be in a negative sense as opposed to you being in the empowered sense. So we're always trying to find that empowered aspect within us that is the all-knowing, trusting part of us, the goddess. But yeah, it was just that blessing of allowing that I'm going to be leaving so much of me behind and discovering so much of me now that I've come to be. But these new parts, I can't be the old me at all. I just can't be. And we often think, oh yeah, that's great. You know, I'm just me. No, we're actually developing a whole new self, a whole new state of being, and a whole new presence of self. And so again, the personality, and this is again part of that resonance, that the personality and the games we play through the personality, which is the shadow, which is the illusion, they can't be taken forward. They just have to die. And that's a huge part for all of us when we know we have the choice to step up, or whether we remain in the comfort of the old, of what we know. And this is where many have the struggle, because it takes huge courage and it walks through great fears and great challenges to say, who am I? What does this future look like? And here comes that trust word again. To actually be willing to go, well, I don't know who the hell I am. And that's a great place to be again, because we don't know who we are. We are so much that we've only ever thought of ourselves, and most often from a shadow, illusory perspective, where all the labels, attachments, expectations, the old games, the patterns, the playouts, all were part of who we thought we were. But we're really seriously moving into new times now with the new earth, where that cannot be any longer. And I don't know if that makes sense, if I've said that with any clarity or not.
And it happens with, like, you know, again, Marie's been able to articulate this massive journey, and that comes with space and time for you to be able to create that space, to be able to process it in that way. You know, ultimately we need to be able to honor where, like, our own little journey in that. Otherwise it does become all confronting, because it's not ever just one thing that comes up. It's not ever just the guilt. The guilt just doesn't come up by itself. It comes up with a whole bunch of things, and sometimes to be able to compartmentalize all of those things gets you a bit heady. It's more just getting into the feeling of what you're actually feeling in that moment and what the truth is. And as I said, the thing that really pulled me through this is, like, what I experience in reflection to me reflects the energy that I'm putting out into the world. So again, if I'm starting to be really stirred by these vibrations that, as I said, are poking me, then I can feel my vibration becoming lower. So then I perpetuate that, and what characteristically happens around me is the continuation of that reflection. So then I begin to see it in multiple circumstances, you know, like then I'm already out for the count, and then, you know, the shelter tell me Addie got returned. I'm like, oh, you know, like it's, I'm like, okay, we're really clearing this. And then I have to, like, I feel like I then move into this, I like just breathing through each day, each moment of, well, what's actually real. And I'll give you an example is, you know, before I feel like as the crescendo happened, so let's just say it was 12/12, all right? So the day before my birthday was the biggest crescendo for me. And then I finally feel like I came out of it on the morning of my birthday. And so in on the 12/12, my little girl, I perceived is like, I can't remember what she said, but the way that I perceived it is she's judging my parenting, and she's like, I'm so going to be a better parent and a better adult than you. You know, so this was my reflection. But in the crescendo to that, these are the things that I was feeling as she was raising stuff in me. I honestly, I had those moments where I'm like, whoa, what kind of parent am I? Like, where am I in this? Like, and I spiraled into a place where I wasn't coming from love with some of the thoughts that I was having. So here outwardly comes the reflection. Fast forward to today, and we're coming back and all from the beach, and all I'm hearing come out of her mouth is, thank you so much, Mum. Thank you so much for having me, for allowing me to be born. Like the complete opposite, because I've shifted, everything shifted. Yeah. The foundation of me as a mother archetype, her as a daughter, like me as a parenting archetype, whatever has been transmuted by the inner knowing that if I align anything onto her, then so it is. Anything, good or bad. So if I align that I've imprinted something into her, because, like, say I've had a bad parenting moment, in my opinion, and I have named it in my head a bad parenting moment, and that, you know, she's going to need deep psychological discussions with future counselors over what went down. If I truly believe that, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Whereas if I clear that in that moment and go, well, that is our guilt. We both thank you for playing the game so beautifully for me, for me to have the opportunity to be choosing love over any of these lower vibrations. Then it shifts as quickly as that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And same with all of the past circumstances. You know, I can go back now and I can clear, like I have done. You know, Marie started talking to me about this when Isla was a baby. You know, and I feel as though I don't always remember it in the moment, but I always come back to it at some point, into that truth. And it really helps. You know, I think as parents, it's one of our biggest challenges is to move through the guilt around what we're doing to these souls, how we're creating their future.
Yeah. Well, this is the biggest aspect of shadow, you know. And I think before we even go to that, to understand again, when we have these less than emotions, you know, the mind is split. Duality is a split mind. And so when we say the mind is split, there is only the source God mind, or there is the shadow mind. And the shadow mind is all illusion, because anything that says you are not of light and love is a lie. And so we played a game, and chose to play in a game that we jumped into, that we kept creating in, that was all a lie. But because ego needs to maintain itself, the shadow needs to maintain itself to play out this game, it has to create the circumstances to believe that the illusion is real. So this is why the guilt keeps going on, the shame keeps going on, and we will, it's so tricky, the shadow and the ego talking within us, because it's so normal at times. It's not always that obvious. It's in your everyday talk. But until we start to look at it and feel it and understand what it is, then we can only work with it like anything. But the two big words for me in the shadow are guilt and shame, because they sit percolating, permeating, infiltrating the whole time, unconsciously, subconsciously, within everybody, because we keep playing in a dualistic world through society, families, religion, you name it. It's all fear-based, but we don't obviously always see the fear, because fear is like this, the top heading of the umbrella, but it's got all these arms of all different names that come under fear. But guilt and shame are really two insidiously heavy negative frequencies that we must clear. And anytime we choose guilt, you're not serving yourself at all, or anyone around you. And I know when I started to work with guilt, because I was raised in the family of guilt, I literally just had to keep saying to myself, when I felt it, I saw it, it was in front of me, and then I recognized it in me, because the out is within, that I would just say to myself, until I reached critical mass point and could believe it, no guilt. I cannot align to guilt. I must not align to guilt. I can't align to guilt. No, guilt doesn't work with me. Guilt won't serve me. Guilt doesn't help me. Guilt's not love. I would just have all these sayings just to keep reminding myself to deprogram me away from something that was so normal for me to be part of. And it wasn't a pretty world. I was all the worthlessness, all the stuff that comes with those two words, the limitations, everything that you create with this underlying frequency, it has to be truly challenged within. And guilt is one word we must not give our energy to. We must have it. We must see it for what it is and say, no, no more. And that's the choice we have in every moment of every second, nanosecond. Yes or no? Do we or don't we? My will or thy will? It takes the effort, but that's what this journey is about. Finding that divine masculine, finding those positive qualities of the solar plexus that gives us the strength to say enough is enough. Is this working? There's the question for yourself. Is this working? Does this make me happy? Do I feel good right now? If you answer no to all of those, then why keep towing that same line? You have to take ownership, responsibility for the self to say enough is enough. And if I keep doing it, then I am responsible for this, nobody else. Because in guilt, we blame. In guilt, the mirror is we just blame off. We lose power continuously, pointing outwardly that it's something else, someone else, somewhere else. That's the issue to why we're feeling like this, why we're choosing the guilt. And the big thing about guilt too is to remember guilt is only ever of the past. Guilt's not now. Guilt is the feeling you're feeling now, but it's from the past in a belief you still got attached that you're still aligned to, and that you're still allowing to infiltrate into your now moment. That's the opportune, present moment choice to say, what am I doing? And then the shadow says, but that's why you feel guilty, because they, this, that, they're not, rah, 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 rah. And here it is still projecting outward back again. But here's that pull that the shadow saying, no, I don't want you to wake up. I don't want you to get a handle on this. I don't want you to shift the frequency here. So let me drag you back down. And I'm going to tell you all the things that you know, because these are the words and the thoughts and the beliefs and perceptions you've had for so long that you believe. So I'm going to pull you back into them, take you back down into that world so you get caught up in them again and you go, oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot. And every moment's the moment to go, whoa, hang on, ding, time out, time out, time out, time out. And the best way for time out is just to go and take that breath, cut that cord, walk away, step outside, go to the toilet, do a sage, do whatever you need to do just to give yourself the moment to go, where am I? What am I doing right now? And then make a different choice. This big, that big. But we have to be that firm to ourselves to really shift these two insidious frequencies that will not make you or not assist you to expand in any way. You'll still be held back the whole time, no matter what you tell yourself. You can tell yourself, oh, yeah, I've done all that. Yeah. But if you know deep down you are still connected and you still have thoughts about the past, or you've still got that thing that comes up, whether this big or that big, and it's still in your cells, you can feel that a little bit rising, you're still attached. That wins every time, not what you're telling yourself you think you're doing. So it's that conscious choice about, do I die to that story? Do I really let that story and that thought go? That has always empowered me in my victim. It's always given me a great story to tell and served me about how people owe me, or how I should be treated, or how this has happened and what might happen. And oh, watch what you're saying again. Hear this drama. Drama's a great key to where your energies are, because love doesn't have a drama. Ego has drama. Love just says, yay, let's move on. Are you happy? Great, keep going. Simple as that.
That's a really great point. Like, you know, I often have joked about the bumper sticker I put at the back of my head called drama, just say no, because I realized very quickly that the alignment to any form of drama was a spiral.
Mm-hmm.
But getting back to the guilt and the shame, for me, in my personal journey, getting space or saging was in the heightened moments was not enough.
Yeah.
What really helps me is what I call the leverage to change. And it's almost like I have to sit down and figure what that is out in order for me to remember it in the moment. And then that's what then creates the ability for me to go and have the space, or to take a breath, or joke about it, or, you know, change what that dynamic is. So, you know, again, I'll lay it back down from the parenting perspective. You know, I have had a moment where I've known that I'm saying a word that is a shame word, and in that moment wanted to say it more than I didn't. And so there was that moment where I just allowed it. I allowed myself to say it, and then I dealt with the clearing of that afterwards, because then the clearing of that afterwards was me being able to sit down and go, well, you know, is this a choice you're going to make? Is this going to be an ongoing choice? And, you know, how is that going to play out for the rest of eternity, if that's how you feel? And that's how I change things. And the 99% of the time frame that I do that in is through my journaling. I feel like the words, once they're out of me onto paper, solidify the change that I want to make. Like, you know, if I project, it becomes a reality. I have to write that down. In order for me to see it, and that might be the only time I have to write it down. Like, a lot of my journals are written in doctor handwriting, and then often something I never read again. I might read it for the coming days as I'm imprinting the new frequency off it, but then it seems to be imprinted. But there's been plenty of times where I've been in a weirdo place and everyone's around me, and doesn't matter if I go to the garden or I'll come back straight into the situation and I'll be ready to be irritated again immediately. It's about really remembering why I'm making a choice not to be.
And I think we said in the last hub, perhaps, or the one before, I can't remember, I think it might have been last. I think I said too that in what you're saying, that it's okay to feel these things, like they're not bad, okay? There's no bad or good ever. These are just energies that you've chosen to create with. And as they come up, they must be felt. And I know when I was doing mine, I did mine differently. I felt, but I was also, I'm someone that I toe a very, not a rigid, but I toe a line for myself that I choose to create. And so I am very wordy in that way with myself, but that's how it works for me. But at the same time, as it comes up, watch how you're responding or reacting to what's coming. And I think this is what's paramount, because if we can learn to accept that when these moments come up, that we're not judging them, that we can get angry, that we can have our reaction, that we can know that in that moment we're allowing this, but we're consciously aware as best we can of what's happening, that we're going to move through this as it is ready to be moved through. Because we can't move through anything, as I said earlier, by willing that in our head, by wanting that to change and making that okay, and telling ourselves it's different. We know that doesn't work. It has to come from here. So a lot of the time, again, to get to know what Martine's has been expressing, you have to be in it, to feel it, to know it, to recognize, acknowledge it, and allow that, however short or long that's going to be for you. But keep, if and where you can, reminding yourself and using your tools. If you know them, you know your violet flame, you know the breath work, you know the earth, you know whatever works for you. That even if you can't do that in that moment, but in some part of you, you know it's there, that's good enough, because it's still operative. It doesn't just disappear, it's you. So if you've just got, I know it's there, but I don't want to do it right now. It's still there, but it's not necessarily right here, so to speak. And you don't have to engage in it to fix anything. But just that choice again in allowing to say, I know I'll come through this as it's time. I will move through this and I'm willing. That's all your heart wants to hear, because your heart says, great, you're aware, you're conscious, you're recognizing this moment. That's the heart talk. That's great. It doesn't want your resolution. It doesn't want your fix. It doesn't want things sorted out. It doesn't want you to feel better and happy in the next 5 minutes. That the heart knows, well, this is just an illusion you're in anyway at the moment. It's like you're just working through a dream you created. But you're going to awaken through the dream and realize it was a dream, all in time. And sometimes the dream can look like a nightmare. And then as you work through the nightmare, like any child, and you turn the light on, and you bring the light in and you realize, oh, it was just a dream. It's not real. This is shadow work. This is exactly what your shadow work is. It's a dream. It's not your true reality, which is the light. But every time you bring the light in, and that can just be, I acknowledge this, that's light. Light just holds information. That's what light is. So every time we just bring a little bit of information, which is truth, going, okay, and it might just be, I'm just going to hold a crystal, I'm just going to breathe, whatever we said. Your acknowledgement is saying, I'm recognizing the light. The heart says, that's great, that's all I'm asking you to do. We don't want you to have bounding victories in the next 24 hours. And don't have the expectation upon yourself that keeps you combined and locked into the guilt when you fail to meet your expectation. Watch that one.
Yeah. Which I think fundamentally we all have, because we're built in a perfectionist society.
Yeah.
And like what Marie's talking about as the dream, the add-on there is that, we're never going to have the same dream. We're never going to have the same story. So, even observing it, like observing all of the things that are going on through, you can't not look at it through your own story. It's still your own story, because even if your friend's going through a similar thing, they've got different people in their house, they've got different personalities, they've got a different pet, like a different location of where there are so many other factors that will go into individualizing that story. And so no two people will go through it. It's I can't remember what the true scientific formula for that, but remember I can't remember what it's called, is what I'm trying to say. There's like a scientific name for what I'm about to explain. Don't know what it's called. Can't remember right now. But when you held your thumb up and you close one eye and you see it from one perspective, and then you close the other, which I can't do. I can only blink one eye. So pretend I'm just blinking this one, and you see it, and the thumb looks like it's in a completely different place.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a different perspective of, because we're looking at it through a different eye, and just retraining ourselves to continue to look at things from lots of different eyes is like often how we sometimes we crawl our way out of the situations. Other times we're just putting one foot in front of the other out of the situations. And, you know, the only other additional thing is that beautiful acknowledgement that Marie said, to get into your heart. And for years, it used to be for me, just me calling upon everyone, anyone off the, and now it's just shortened to anyone of the I am presence. It used to be like, can I please have Archangel such and such, and may I please have the Ascended Master such and such. Now, anyone of the I am presence, please. I surrender. Just to help me through this.
Ask and you shall receive.
Yeah. And so lastly, my point is to reaffirm again, you know, one of my favorite ways of explaining this is when people cancel in the clinic. You know, my whole day can go ahead and just look completely different to how it looked the day before. And it happened to me a few days ago when all of this went down, where then like my whole morning schedule got cleared, and I was like, oh, thank you. Because like, I really don't think I would have been able to do that, you know? And it's amazing how you're completely supported always. It's just that you can choose to look at it like in a certain light, you know, like if there's a door, any door, you can choose to look at it like a door, or you can choose to look at it like that infamous saying, like one door closes, another one opens. And it's just surrendering to the puzzle. And as I've said also before, that often used to look like the 11th hour, not so much anymore, thank goodness. Like it's like it used to literally be up to the 11th hour and be like, okay, you're really testing the trust here. But now it's like it usually resolves itself fairly quickly, because I'm consistently listening and consistently asking these questions. You know, like, again, another example is Addie being returned to the shelter. I'm constantly like, okay, I'm shuffling the cards. So is Addie supposed to come home with me? And then it's this amazing card of, you know, she's waiting on her new family, like just this is her journey right now. And I'm like, okay, so she's got mine, got it. And then the next day, is Addie supposed to come home? You know, it's like I'm listening, but I'm still asking the questions.
Yeah.
You know,
and that might be the whole Addie journey. It's not about Addie, it's about you.
Yeah. Yes.
And Addie's the extension.
As all things are. And that's an example of how I'm, you know, constantly asking the questions. And then other times I know straight away, I'm like, nah, that's perfect. Okay, where do we need to go from here? Open that up. And like, I'm so much more smooth lines than asking every other day. So let's go and pick up Addie yet.
And, you know, in truth too, well, you know, we all do it. We've all done it. The key to in moving into your own space, and the more adept you get at going within, is that we recognize again where we are giving our power away to cards again, or we're giving our way to pendulums, because we're still not trusting in us for the answer. We want them to answer it for us, and then, oh, we'll follow that, or a medium or a psychic or whatever. So it's that fine line again, always of trying, use what you need to, but to be conscious again of, okay, I discern that information too, because whatever we receive from outside is always very vibrationally reflective of where we're at inside. That's so true. If we're not of this level, we're only going to receive at that level. And it's not necessarily always the highest picture that we're after. But
I'm always well aware of that when I'm picking cards. But I'll always still, like, if with the Addie situation, I'm still like, I'm so aware of this, but I'm doing it anyway. You know, there's like certain things
and that's it. That's the truth, you know. Yeah. No, that's a positive truth. Absolutely. And it's the only other thing that I feel like I'd like to add in, and it might be a little bit separate again, is that the one thing I've noticed in that, going right back to the beginning where I can see the divine feminine and masculine, but the divine feminine, the Sophia energy really moving through to take us into 23, is personally again, and this might be for some of you out there, is that I've been, and I think you, Martine, you too here, because you're talking about Isla and the feminine aspects, is that be aware of that feminine, imbalanced old feminine energy rising, which is the guilt, the shame, those jealousy aspects, manipulation, all those creative energies. This is the goddess when she's out of balance, the shadow parts of the goddess. And so again, I've just seen some old energies of mine again just this morning, raised up again for me through my daughter, like Isla brings for you, because again, it's not that I've done anything wrong or dipped down, but because the purging, the energies are coming in, and I know they are coming in so fast and furious for me and for all of us right now, that here's just another layer, that extension of me, that soul that is my daughter, is just creating for me the moment to feel, to get that old feeling again, recognize it, take it as far back as you choose to, but to simply own the feeling and to just allow it to just release as it's ready to go. But I was so conscious again of that is just my old imbalanced feminine, because that's been a huge blocked energy, feminine lineage pattern right through my female tree of, particularly being Scorpios, very deep shadow stuff with us in that feminine nature. So that just was again the reflection of, we're in this moment again till solstice that I think we will see a lot of imbalanced feminine frequencies, which is what we've been discussing today. But I just feel like I need to give you not a label, but a guidance as to what that is about. And it's not imbalanced masculine. So they both have their imbalances. And so she needs to be rebalanced so that she can rise into her true grace again without fear, in her knowing and all her trust. And then he can step forward and they move as one together into that new vibration.
And it's a good time of the year to soften into her with our resting period coming up as well.
Yeah.
Even though many of you are busy, you can still find rest in this time if you choose.
Yeah, and that's the key. I think we now are in a space where, again, if we are alert and awake and willing, then part of in moving in and embracing that aspect of that true divine feminine goddess within us is actually to take the moment to create the space, to create the time, to give ourselves to replenish and to refuel and look after ourselves. And we'll often say we can't, but watch that. That's an old pattern. That again, imbalance. She says, oh, no. And shadow says, no. Keep busy, keep out of it. Just tell yourself you can't. What we believe is what we see. And I can tell you, when you dare to say, okay, I'm giving myself 5 minutes, and you believe you will get that, and you ask for the beings of love and light to surround you to maintain that and to give that assistance for that for you, because you mean what you say and you're saying what you mean, watch what happens. You will get 5-10 minutes of such replenishment. And then time will just fall away, that you will have all the time in the world, and you'll think, why haven't I done this before? But until you try, you won't know. You're worth it. Don't buy into the haste of this commercialized time. Recreate this time. And I don't know about you, Martine, but certainly for me, and I know a couple of people up here I've spoken to, this is a real changing of Christmas for me. You know, I've been the mother that's done it all, done this, had the kids, I do it all, run around, and I've enjoyed it. It's not because I've had to. I've enjoyed doing that. But this year, it's not happening like that. This year, it's changing us up. And I have said to everybody, no, that game's over now. Everybody's here. Everybody's contributing. Everybody's going to rest and relax. Everyone's going to enjoy their day. Everyone's just going to be. And it's not about all the presents. And I'm cutting back on those. And I'm just minimizing it so that it's just about what it's about. And that we come together and we enjoy each other's company. And we have fun and we can be together And obviously there's the other energy for me too about remembering what Christ Mass is about. So this is about the Christos, this is about the Christed energy, but it's about the returning of your Christed energy,
Mm.
who you truly are.
Yep. Yes, I've definitely surrendered Christmas as well for probably on another layer, for the first time on many layers, to the point where I was happy and content with it just being the two of us, if it so turned out to be that way. And then the minute that I did, there were people coming to me, which I feel like it's usually, are you coming here? Are you doing this? And me having to discern whether I feel like,
where.
yeah.
No, it's good. This is shifting. Everything's shifting now. So be alert to those shifts and trust what you feel is right for you and honor that within you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I feel that's all I need to really sort of say.
Let's complete this with an
This
om.
hub.
Should we do an om?
Oh, sounds lovely. I was doing an om overnight, actually. Actually, I'll just say that because I woke up through the night and I had this huge pain through my arm and shoulder again, and I've not had this for like ages ago. So I thought, oh, here's another big release. And usually I can clear it, do my visuals, do my stuff, and it wasn't going. And it was really keeping me awake. And thought, oh, and it was really, really quite painful. And I thought, oh, okay. And then I just sat with it instead of trying to let it move on. I thought, hang on a minute. I don't know what time it was. And I was just laying there going, hang on. And I got the flash when I asked, what's this really about? What's in high school to do here? And I had the flash that it was my mother-in-law, where my husband is at the moment. I thought, and I know she has underlying cancer. And I thought, oh, this is hers. This is not mine. This is just not mine to hold. I'm either here to transmute it or I'm taking it on for some reason, but I can let that go. So I cut my cords. And then through the night, I literally went, oh, and I started arming into my shoulder, arming right down my arm, clearing out. And then in no time it stopped and I went back to sleep and I looked at the clock and it was 2:22. And then I went, right, good night.
There you go.
Yep, and it's gone. Yeah.
Power sound.
Power sound.
All right,
Yeah.
well, let's om out.
Om it, baby. Done.
Till next time.
We'll see you soon.
See you
Take
soon.
care. Talk
Bye.
soon.